Mr. Chairman, let me go on straight to the Zero Oil Plan, which should really form the basis of our discussion. And this is what the NEPC has been promulgating, and we have been pushing this for. This was our response to the volatility of the crash in international crude oil prices between 2015 and 2016. Mr. Chairman, you have even brought us up to date to tell us that now in 2020, the price has gone down even below $5 of what we put for our budget. So, of course, what that means is that we are in a big problem of generating revenue for the country. The country depends 90% on oil for our to sustain us. The zero, I'm on page 4. I'll just run quickly through this process. This will be for members anyway to go through at their own time. The Zero Oil Vision, of course, was a strategy to boost foreign exchange through the non-oil sector. Don't buy it, don't buy it. We proposed 22 products that could generate up to $30 billion in foreign exchange yearly for the country from the global market. The products chosen were petrochemicals, soya, cotton, sugar, palm oil, fertilizer, rice, leather, cocoa, rubber, gold, banana, cement, tomato, cashew, sesame, oranges, cassava, spices, ginger, shea butter, and cowpea. They were split into two categories, Category A and Category B. Let me talk just on two of these products for us to really understand. Petrochemicals, Chairman, honorable members, it's a product that trades over $150 billion annually and globally. And yet Nigeria is not there. We're not selling petrochemicals. Instead, we're importing. And when we ran through our zero oil plan with Alhaji Dangote had wanted to buy the Kaduna refinery, Lagos refinery. He didn't succeed. He was looking into petrochemicals. And we sat down with him and we went through this plan. And today, I'm so glad that the petrochemicals plant that Dangote is doing is coming on stream. When that comes on, what it will do for Nigeria is really a big game changer. Because when you even look at our imports is dominated by petrochemicals. When you remove the petrochemicals from our imports, then our trade balance is really okay. There is no problem with our trade balance because our major imports are petrochemicals, and yet we're a petrol economy, and that's the sad thing about it. So the petrochemical thing is very good for us. Let me also talk on palm oil, which many of you members, Mr. Chairman, you know the sad story of palm oil. When they tell you where they picked the Malaysians came and picked palm kernel and they went to grow it. It is such a sad story. The palm oil business is also another 50. How much is palm oil? Can you run through?
At 1 billion.
Yeah, yes, that's it. It's a 31 billion business, and countries like Malaysia and Indonesia have really mastered the art of palm oil, and they use it for everything, and they have forward and backward integration for everything on palm oil they're selling. We are kicking off with that. Part of the Zero Oil Plan is to raise states to produce. And just recently, you might have heard about it, the Edo State government is going in with bid with CBN on palm oil, which is also good for our economy. Cocoa is another sad case because we are currently doing less than 300,000 metric tons of cocoa, yet Ghana is almost 1 million. Cote d'Ivoire is about 2 million metric tons. And yet, if we take the states that can push and grow cocoa for us, they have more land than both Cote d'Ivoire and Ivory Coast. There's no reason why we should not be on 2 million metric tons in cocoa. Cocoa is still our #1 non-oil export after oil, because we are still doing about, what's the figure on cocoa? We still do almost
Cocoa.
Cocoa, yes. We're doing 250.
No.
The value.
Value.
Okay, the value is about 2.5.
About $2 billion Nigeria. The total, what we are getting in the West Africa is about $5 billion. And that is so sad, because while we all fight at Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Tanzania, Ghana, struggling for about $5 billion, it goes to Europe and it's transformed into the chocolate market, which is $80 billion. You only members, you see the sadness of this. So it becomes chocolate there, it has higher value, it's suddenly an $80 billion market, and yet we that are growing it, we are struggling for $5 billion. So part of the Zero Oil Plan is calling on how to the forward integration of cocoa itself, from cocoa flakes to chocolate and cocoa drinks, everything you can do with cocoa, so we can have that advantage back. When you can see the figures of all the international trade of this from page 5. It goes to the category B on page page 6. And honorable members, when you see all these products, all these sectors, you will know, you are familiar with them because they go all around Nigeria. When I say shea butter, you know where it's from. When I say ginger, you know where it's from. When I say yam, you know where it's from. I say cocoa, you know where it's from. You know, Nigeria is blessed with all these products. So, in fact, when we were doing this, somebody said, no, just pick on one product. Nigeria should just pick on one product. I said, how? That cannot be possible. I pick on cocoa only from Ondo, Osun, Oyo, and Calabar, and Akwa Ibom. Then what happens to ginger in Kaduna? What happens to shea butter in Niger State? You know, the country is just blessed. Yeah. So we map those products to page 7 now, to 22 strategic markets where we can sell them. Then we go into how much production does the country need. That's page 8 now. How much production does the country need in order to produce in tons, and what will be earned in foreign exchange? And then we now go to our one state, one product scheme, and this is part of what is in our ministry's Nigeria Industrial Revolution Plan and the NEDEP, National Enterprise Development Program. And those two projects calculate how we get to the states and get them it's just generic. We don't restrict them. We say at least give us one product from your state that we can export so we can generate foreign exchange. And that is the table that we have from page 8 to 9 on the states and their various products. We also, in the Zero Oil Plan, we identified the strategic transport corridors that must be developed for the country so we can move our products up and down, particularly to our ports. You look at the Calabar port, the Port Harcourt port, Lagos and Badagry port. We're saying we must move products there by rail, not by road. And that is exactly what the federal government is doing now. We also call for export aggregation centers, page 11 now, which will give us warehousing, grading, sorting, packing, cooling, transaction. I must mention that NEPC on its own had started what we call the Common Facility Centers, and we have them in we have for yam in Benue, in Zakibian, and we process yam there, we clean it, package it, and then it comes to the southwest, and some for export. Honorable members, you must also be aware that yam is still banned under our export provision bill, which we were calling for it to be lifted down, because we are already exporting. We are taking yam to America and to particularly the diaspora, and we want to do that. Some of our yam gets across to Ghana, is exported at Ghana yam. Well, we know we are the biggest grower of cassava in the world, particularly, yes, in the world.
And other common facility centers.
And we have other common facility centers we're doing, but we want to upgrade them to what we call now aggregation centers. And that's what you can help us talk to the governors for, because it's very important. I must mention the International African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is likely to increase when the free trade area goes up. But when you look at that diagram, our exports to Africa in non-oil are very, very small. It's still petrol, oil, crude oil, and natural gas that we export. And that's why the fare of industrialists and manufacturers in trying to, the delay for Nigeria to sign on to the act, because nobody wants Nigeria to become a dumping ground. But we're saying that if we continue and get our forward integration right, all these products, we start processing them, packaging them properly, and then we can enter this market. The West African market is Nigeria's, and it belongs to Nigeria, really. Because even in trade fairs that we go all over West Africa, it's Nigerian products that are in high demand. So we in the NEPC, we are not afraid of that will become a dumping ground. In fact, we believe we will dominate the African market. Again, that is the value of our non-oil exports to Africa, page 12 now. And you see tobacco and cement. Cement I must mention, because honorable members, Mr. Chairman, you realize that a couple of years ago, Nigeria was a net importer of cement. But by drastic and effective and practical working of government, we have become an importer of cement. We're no longer importing cement. We're now exporting. We're now exporting to Africa. Indeed, Dangote group of companies was there to demand for EEG, meaning they're now exporting cement. And so we say if this kind of deliberate effort is attached to many of the products which we have said, then you will see our economy will not be in any dire straits as it is now. Let me show you on page 13. You can see the map. That's the ITC, the International Trade Center in Geneva. Give us our export potential into Africa. And so those are all the things they feel that Nigeria can right now export into Africa, where we have comparative advantage, and we can deepen our physical footprint within those markets. I must also talk about the services sector, because that is really the biggest sector in our GDP, as honorable members you realize. I'm now on page 14. The IMF estimates that services export contributed 9.89% of our total exports in 2017. This is a value of roughly 5 billion, higher than the formal export of non-oil goods. We must capture this. We're already working with the Central Bank of Nigeria to add export of services to our NXP form, which will help the National Bureau of Statistics capture accurate data of our exports. The key to the Zero Oil Vision is promoting our national sense is services. And this is really big for us because we know Nigeria, our entertainment sector, our financial sector, our banks, bankers, even footballers, etc., etc. They are the strength of our economy, and they make us look good every time. We, now on page 15, we are working on advocacy to better understanding the financial requirements of the non-oil export services sector. And we were working with the CBN, and they've really recently launched the Creative Industry Financing Initiative. This enables young entrepreneurs in the fashion, IT, film, music sectors to access loans at single digits so they can push their services. The Zero Oil Plan targets are very ambitious targets we gave to government. Now we need to add 150 billion minimum to our foreign reserves from non-oil exports over the next 10 years. It sounds a very tough and ambitious goal, but Chairman, honorable members, it is possible. We must understand that our economy must be export-driven, export-led. And we have examples of economies that have grown like that. China, Japan, Singapore, Indonesia. It's all targeted on exports. If we are not export-led, we are going to collapse our country. We say we need to lift at least 20 million Nigerians out of poverty. On the implementation side, we were integrated as a core component of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ARGP. Then we presented a paper at the 80th National Economic Council, and thereafter NEC constituted the National Committee on Export Promotion. The committee is chaired by the Jigawa State Governor, as Lagos and Ebonyi as members, and also the various ministries and MDAs, and we're using this to drive the Zero Oil Plan. On page 17, on the map, you will see, on the graph, you will see some of the projects that we're doing under the National Committee for Export Promotion. They include the warehouse aggregation centers, which I spoke about earlier, to establishment of an export trading company, because we need a company that's able to buy out from our farmers, from our producers, even when the price is bad. Buy out, hold, and then of sale later. We have the Anchor Borrowers Program for exporters, which just last week we were at the CBN Department of Development Finance to activate this, and it will follow what the CBN and the Ministry of Agric have done for rice, the Anchor Borrowers Program for rice, to boost production of selected products for export, because that's really what the Zero Oil Plan is about. We need to increase production of many of these products, and the only way is to get into commercialized farming, not this little farming which we are doing. It's not going to take us anywhere. We must farm like Mexico and Brazil, like they're farming. Upgrading existing major export commodity markets. We identified 4 major markets to be upgraded. That's the Dawanu in Kano, Doma in Nasarawa, Harare in Aba, and Abia State, and Okerete Saki in Oyo State. Those are the markets we're looking at. The border markets, the ones that are, and it's very important now with the African Continental Free Trade Area that we get these markets up and about. We call for an annual export summit, which we want the National Assembly also to help us with. We talk on technical, I'm now on page 19, says technical support and capacity programs. You hear more of that as we go along on what we have been doing. Then, well, formalization of our consultant publicity for this, because the country has to know what is happening. We find that most of the time, people don't know exactly what is happening, and that is a problem. But we don't understand that we must spend for communication. Is very big. And as you are here, if you didn't call this camera, bring a camera crew, and how do we now? We must put it on NTA, put it on channels, put it on. It's money. It's going to cost the bill that will come to the committee for this. I don't even think you can afford it. But because we don't put communications on a budget to expose what we are doing, we just hope and wish they will know about it. No, we must properly fund communications, and of course monitoring and evaluation. Mr. Chairman, the next page will page 20 will answer your question, which you said in the beginning. Non-oil exports, including services, have risen from 1.17 billion in 2016 to 3.16 billion in 2018. This is a rise of 170%. The data is not our own. It's coming from the International Trade Center in Geneva. And you can see the trend. Now, the strategic sectors identified in the Zero Oil Plan have seen growth. For example, sesame exports have increased by $153 million since 2016. That's an increase of more than 100%. Again, I'm quoting the ITC. We have significant growth in exports in cashew, fertilizer, leather sectors. Page 21. Page 21 shows more of this growth. Hello? Yeah. Shows more of the strategic sector growth in exports. And you can see many of our products under the Zero Oil Plan that have grown. Cashew is particularly very good news to us because we are also now processing cashew in Nigeria. And we're exporting semi-processed cashew now to the United States of America, and we're doing processed cashew. We're about to get one of our companies at Walmart. Is it Walmart? Cameron? Walmart? No. I'm abroad. It's Walmart. America is Walmart. Yeah, we're about to get one of our companies in their products in Walmart. Now, we tell you what we have been doing in the non-oil sector on page 22. NIPC is telling us we have 5 billion investment mobilized in export-oriented sectors. That's fertilizer, of course, the petrochemical plant, leather, sesame sectors. We have new investments that are tracking that is coming in, and we are saying this will lead to about some 500,000 new jobs annually. For our training and capacity building program, we won the ITC 2018 World Trade Promotion Organization Award for Best Initiative to ensure that trade is inclusive and sustainable. Again, the CBN has approved the commencement of export facilitation initiative on 5 commodities from our zero oil plan. That's cashew, cocoa, palm oil, sesame, and shea nut. Again, they launched the creative industry financing sector initiative, which is going well for our creative sector. So all in all, this is what we have been doing in NEPC under the zero oil plan, and we say if successfully and appropriately implemented, it will put Nigeria on the path of the diversification that we all seek. Thank you very much.